Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow baseball enthusiast,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we'll be reviewing A League of Their Own. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. Good to have you here. We like to review movies. For those of you that have been with us before, welcome back. We'll never spoil anything in the first, let's call it 10, 15 minutes of our show. We'll give you a spoiler-free review from 0 to 5. Then we'll give you some background on the movie, and then we'll start getting to like our play-by-play and breakdown of scenes where you get to get some spoilers. But if you haven't seen A League of Their Own yet, don't fret. We won't spoil anything yet. Wow, I rhymed like 4 times there. I'm a lyrical genius.
Hammer down, Drake.
All right, Mike. 0 to 5, A League of Their Own. What do you think?
4.5.
4.5.
I
Wow.
really love this movie. Like, it was my first time watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I just loved everything about it. I think the characters were really great. The story was compelling and like sweet and inspiring. Like, I just really loved everything about this.
Okay.
I'm kind of mad it took me so long to watch it. But yeah, it was just a really, really good movie to me. Like, I'm not a big baseball fan, but I found it was like the first time in a while watching a sports movie where I'm sitting there like, yeah, like is it real? It was the weirdest shit. Like the final game or whatever. I was really sitting here, a grown ass man, knowing that this is played out for television, acting as if, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's been the first time in a while. But I found that so funny. But it was like, no, the story, like the story was like really, really good. And it was just interesting to like, obviously since it's based on, real life events, it's interesting to see a bit of history. I mean, Tom Hanks is always a joy. And like I don't know if I was talking to you or somebody else about like, it's interesting seeing a younger Tom Hanks, like not play very much like America's Dad, but like kind of being like silly and jovial. I guess jovial is the word. Like more juvenile in a way. But it always fascinates me that he just wasn't born America's Dad. Like obviously he worked that way in his career. Gina Davis is great. I really fucking Rosie O'Donnell. I didn't realize how much I missed her from like movies in the 90s. I was like the Flintstones, and like one of my favorite movies as a kid was Harriet the Spy.
Okay.
And it was just like she was like, I wanted her as like a teacher or like a nanny or something like that, like for the longest time. Because I realized how much like she's so funny and like it's just naturally funny without trying. Like so it's just like I really love this cast. Like I said, I really love the story. Just everything about this is great. So it's a 4.5 for me.
Nice. Cool. All right. I'm going to start with a 3.5 for this movie. I thought it was good. 3.5 still means think it's a good movie, and I think most people should see it. But for me, let's see. So there were times where I felt it felt a little long while I was watching it. So I was a little like, okay.
It's like a baseball game going on.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm like, yeah. So you can speed some stuff up. I will say, Tom Hanks was very good, but like his character development as Jim Dugan, or as it went on, it just kind of seemed like, hey, we're magically fixed now. So, slight spoiler: I'm no longer an alcoholic, and I was like, have we really had enough character growth to really just be at this point already?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think, oh man, Gina Davis as Dottie she was phenomenal. I think it was Madonna was May. That she was really good. So I will say, like, it was cast very well.
Speaking, not to cut you off, the casting for both the young,
oh my gosh, yes,
like I know now, especially we have the age up makeup and like the CGI using CGI, but it was like the way that they found the right matches for the older versions of these characters was phenomenal.
100%.
I really need to look up this casting person, because it was like whoever they are, but they did a great job. Like it was one of the first times in a while I was like, because you often see, I think there was a girl that really looked like Eva Mendes, that they used in like Ghost Rider and like something else. The Spirit as her younger self or whatever, and it was like it was a spot on match for her younger self. But it was like this person too. It was like she was able to find people that very much look like, what was it, 50 years later or something like that.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Absolutely.
You were talking about the
Felicia and I were because it's funny you mentioned that. Felicia and I watched it last night, and we literally were like, are some of these women just like, are they just wearing a lot of makeup and prosthetics
Yeah.
to make them look older? No, it was literally different actresses. So that was phenomenal. Yeah, I think from a casting perspective, from a performance perspective, I think everyone did a great job. For me, it really just kind of came down to some of the story flaws. And like I felt it was a little too long. I felt like some of the character development wasn't fully grown. I will say Dottie Hinson's character's choices I found very frustrating at times.
Hmm.
With everything, I was like, "What are you doing?" And then even like not spoiling anything, but then like the comeback, I was like, what do you mean you're just gonna let it come back right now? It's been six games in the series, and you're letting them come back for Game 7?
Look how
Absolutely not.
invested you are in this sport nobody cares about. Look at
That's what it is. So, yeah, I was just frustrated with some characters' decisions and frustrated about other stuff. But and I don't think that was like a being frustrated by the movie. Of
Mhm.
like I think there's more frustrated because of like the story behind it and that kind of stuff. But again, I'm giving it a 3.5. I think there is a lot to love about this movie for sure. Um, I bought it. I'm sure I'll be watching it again, kind of thing. So yeah, um, great. All right, so let's get some background on this. So Mike already spoiled that the casting director is phenomenal.
I couldn't keep that to myself.
Yeah.
Had to be known.
Yeah.
I love to give credit where credit is due when I see
Right,
great
right,
work.
right,
But yeah. So A League of Their Own was released on July 1st in 1992. The runtime is 2 hours and 6 minutes. The budget was $40 million. The box
yeah.
office was $132 million, so it was a big hit. Rotten Tomatoes, we have an 81 for our critics, 84 for audiences. The genre is comedy, drama, sport.
Sport.
Oh, yeah.
That's just
Uh,
I like comedy. Yep. Drama. Yep. Sport. And I'm like, yeah. That's kind of funny.
Leave the be, sir. But yeah, the director is Penny Marshall, who had done Jumping Jack Flash, Big, The Preacher's Wife, and Riding in Cars with Boys.
Hmm.
Um, we have the cast. We have Tom Hanks as Jimmy, Gina Davis as Dottie, Madonna as May, Lori Petty as Kit, John Lovitz as Ernie. That guy, I swear to God.
John Lovitz. I forgot how much I love John Lovitz's
Yeah.
character work. Like he is just such. His voice is
He
iconic,
comes in, he's not even a long performance. So he comes in, does his job, goes home. It was amazing.
and just does his job so well. Yeah.
David Stratharn, excuse me, as Ira, Gary Marshall as Walter, Bull Pullman as Bob, Rosie O'Donnell as Doris, Megan Kavanaugh as Marla, Tracy Reiner as Betty, and Ann Cusack as Shirley.
Okay.
And then the tagline is, "To achieve the incredible, you have to attempt the impossible."
Okay. There you go. Granted, this wasn't impossible because the ladies clearly showed that it wasn't impossible. But
Yeah, I think that that's interesting. I mean, that's my first time reading it back since I wrote these notes before I saw the movie, and I'm just
yeah.
like, I feel like they didn't really. There wasn't a lot of pushback with this.
Yeah. Well, I guess they didn't like emphasize it, with all the
Yeah,
pushback. But yeah, there was people being like, "Women can't play baseball." Yeah, see, yeah, it's the '40s.
is that their 40s?
That's what.
Everybody's a mob boss or a Batman villain.
Yes.
There's a bunch of penguins out there. But yeah, that's the information that I have.
Awesome, cool. Thank you, Mike. Before we head into our play-by-play and start getting into some spoilers, a quick word from our sponsors. Hey, what's going on? It's me. I'm Edward Hunt. I'm on the Milan Babington team of Compass in the DMV. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And we're one of the biggest and best teams in the area. Yeah. So if you would need, but it's more than just helping people buy and sell homes, but it's also if you need any phenomenal handyman contractors, HVAC technicians, electricians, etc. I have a ton of people I can recommend. So any project you have at the house, let me know. If you're thinking of refinancing, need a lender, anything like that, I can also help out there. And of course, if you would like any advice on the market, I got you there too. Also, I'm Edward Hunt of Hunt Comics. I have a comic Evil is a Weapon. Issue 1 is on Global Comics and Amazon, and I would love for you to check it out there. We're hard at work on issue 2, and I think we'll see if the other stuff starts coming out with it too. But yeah, so thank you. Let's get started. League of Their Own. All right, so it's a League of Legends game. All right, which is great because I play bot or support a lot. Emerald.
Okay, nerd, relax. But yeah, so we open. It's we meet Dottie. in 1988, and she's packing a bag. She's heading to the opening of the All American Girls Professional Baseball League exhibit at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And we see like she's a little hesitant to go. Like, so she's packing up, but she's like, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if I want to see my sister or like any of
Mhm.
all of the girls or whatever. Or like she's saying like she didn't see it as important or anything like that.
Oh,
Like,
it's something I did, and I'm like,
yeah.
yeah,
And then, but you do get her daughter kind of pushing her to go. It's like, no, what you did was important. You need to see
Mhm.
them. You need to be there.
Yeah,
And so like she's forcefully, like she kind of forced to go, but like she decides to, to go to the exhibit. And as she's leaving, her two grandsons are like playing basketball, in the front yard or whatever. And she goes to the eldest, and she goes, he's your little brother, like, um, remember he's your little brother, like try to like give him one or something, like, don't always beat him or something like that.
yeah.
And then we get her arriving at like this baseball game.
Well, just
Sorry.
because you mentioned, then I want to say, then she calls over the youngest, and she's like, "Hey, kill him!" And then that's when she leaves, and you're just like, you just told the older brother to go easy on the younger
Yeah,
brother.
yeah,
I think it's a great example, just like her character, right
yeah.
there. Yeah,
But thank you for that. I forgot.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so then she goes to they're having like this exhibition game.
Mm.
So you see a bunch of these older women playing baseball. And as she's standing there, she kind of flashes back, and we get a flashback to 1943.
Oh, I wonder what it was like in 1943, 43, 43. Yeah, it's the 90s, man. This whole movie's a flashback.
I
Welcome to
wonder
the
how it was back then. Back
back
then.
then.
Back then. But yeah, so flashes back to 1943. We get a bit of news position where like during the war, like so many athletes and baseball players or whatever were like decided to enlist
Mhm.
into and during the war. So it was just like the American Baseball League was basically suspended while the men were over, fighting. And so we see that there's a guy, I can't remember his name, but it was like he decided to basically create a women's league to basically replace the men's league since the men weren't there.
Because
Um,
America needs to watch baseball. All right, so we need something.
and so then we get to like we jump to what's his name? One second, one second.
It's,
Oh yeah, we jump to their baseball game or whatever.
oh yeah, yeah.
We see what's her name? Kit, Dottie's younger sister,
Mhm.
up to bat, and we kind of see their dynamic right out, and then right away, and it was like this is why it was important that the confrontations she had were her grandsons, talking
Mhm.
about the competition between the older and the youngest, or the younger, excuse me. And so like she's trying to coach Kit. She was like, like you can't do the high fly. No, it's the high balls or something like that. Like just don't. And like she's trying to coach her, but like Kit's not trying to hear it. She's the kid sister that like doesn't want to take
Mhm.
coaching from her older sister.
Yeah,
And like so Kit goes up and she strikes out or
yeah.
whatever. And then like so next up is what's her name? Dottie. And she goes up and just hits I don't think it's a home run, but it's like it's a long ball that's able like they're like she able to get like three runs or whatever, and they
Yeah.
win the game. And we see we see like this kind of competitiveness between Kit and what's her name? And Dottie as
Mhm.
like they're walking home. No, also, well, so we see one. Well, first, as this game is happening, we see Ernie in the stands. And initially, I thought he was a reporter, but we find out he's a recruiter. And
Yeah.
like, so he's watching their game, and then like they walk home, and what happened? What happened? You kind of see their competitiveness. Where like Dottie's kind of not necessarily scolding her younger sister, but saying it was like, "This is how you should have done it," like whatever.
Mhm.
And then Kit kind of remarking the fact that like she's very much living in Dottie's shadow. It
Yeah.
was like
100%.
the people bring up how great Dottie is, and it was like, oh yeah, and Kit's here too, type of
And
thing.
Kit, her younger sister, and you're
Yeah,
like, yeah, so that's rough for
and so
sure.
and it was like, and then like Kit doesn't want to walk with her, so like they start. She walks ahead of her, and then like you get this cute little foot race between them to the house.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it was just nice to see it was nice them establishing like they do have a love for one another, but they are very competitive.
Yeah.
Not just in the game of baseball, but kind of in life because Kit does feel kind of inferior to her younger sister. And
Mhm.
I couldn't tell if like Dottie was sympathetic to that back then, like when we first meet her, because clearly she is in the beginning of this film, in present day,
Yeah.
with her grandsons. But it was like I'm not sure if if it was something that she really realized in the in the beginning of the film.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, honestly, because it was one of those where, like she wants what's best for her. She is trying to help, but like she does want to, whatever she's doing. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure because,
Mhm.
she's younger. She probably doesn't fully realize it yet. Yeah.
Because it's one of those things like as an older brother, it was like that was something that I was kind of wary of. It was like because I was very much big into school
Hmm.
and things like that, but my brothers weren't. But I never. That's not something I would ever throw in their faces or like let somebody make them feel small for it. It was like I always thought, we all have our strengths, and this is
Hmm.
mine type of thing. But it was like I was wary of that, and I'm curious. I've had conversations with my younger brother recently, as we're adults now, just
Hmm.
trying to get a gauge on because it's one of those things like you as a I'm not a parent, but as a parent, you ask your kids like, "How was I?"
Yeah.
As a parent, and I kind of feel the same way as an older brother. It was like, was I a good older brother, right?
Hmm. And he's like,
Because I was
no.
a
Get out of my house.
no, now he was always like, you see here, you staying in my house for free, you broke motherfucker. You in this round.
Then he just grabs your fist and just stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
But like I think like I just brought that up to say it was just like I love how they were able to show an authentic
Yeah.
relationship between siblings, right? It doesn't the gender doesn't matter. It's like that's just what it is. It is what it is when it comes to older and younger.
Hmm.
But yeah, so like they get home, and as they're like tending to the cows or whatever, or like just the different livestock on the farm, we Ernie arrives and he's first of all just disrespectful out there. I love
Yeah. It is pure 1990s guy. Of him just like
yeah.
being demeaning to everybody and just
Mhm.
disrespectful. Like, what do you want from me? Huh? Yeah. I love it. It's so
But yeah,
good.
so yeah, basically he's there to recruit Dottie because it
Mhm.
like so like we said like because the men's league is suspended, some owners have created a women's league,
Mhm.
and there's a tryout in Chicago. He wants to invite Dottie to try out.
Yeah.
And Kit's there with her, and he's like, "I don't want you." And I was like, "That's what was crazy." Like, geez, it was interesting to hear her complain about like feeling
Mhm.
second best and all these different things, but it was like to have Ernie truly validate that like an asshole
Yeah.
was wild. But yeah, she's like, Kit wants to try out too, and he's like, "I don't want you, I just want her or whatever." And like Dottie's like kind of refusing because she's like, um, no, her husband's in the war and she wants to be there
Yeah.
when he gets back so they can start a family and stuff like that. And so Kit's like, well, if she doesn't go, can I, can I go? And Ernie just tells her, if Dottie doesn't go, you can't go either.
Yeah.
And so he leaves, but he tells him like the train will be, what time the train will be leaving.
Yeah.
And so like Kit kind of like begged because she's just like, I have to get out of here because I'm
Mhm.
nothing here.
Yeah.
In this town. So like that kind of convinces Dottie. Okay, fine, I'll go. I'll go.
Yeah.
And so we see them racing to the train, and this is another funny scene. So like Ernie's on the train waiting for it to leave, and like he's sitting next to some guy. What is he working like insurance or something like
I
that?
think sales. He just says
Yeah,
sales are
yeah,
like 100%.
yeah. And then Ernie just goes, "If I had your job, I'd kill myself." And then he goes, "Let me go find a gun." And I was like, "Gee, Ernie, God,
Man's got no chill. Man has no chill at all.
God damn." But yeah, so so, he sees like the girls like chasing chasing the train like because it's already leaving the
Yeah.
station. But they chase down the train and they're able to get on. Um, but before they can head to Chicago, they need to first go to they need to make a stop for another recruit,
Yeah.
and this is where we meet Marla,
Hmm.
and she's having her try out like in a gym somewhere because it's raining outside, and so like we just see her like her introduction was like she's somebody pitches the pitcher pitches the ball to her, she hits it and it breaks a window,
Yeah.
um, and like you just see like she's a great hitter, and her dad's they're cheering her on, And then after Ernie's seen enough, he like kind of calls her over, and he gets a look at her, and he's like, "Oh no, I
No,
can't have her," because clearly we do see, even though they're trying to have this women's league, they are asking for a specific type of woman, a specific look. Like
yeah.
it's very much not for their skills on the field, but like kind of aesthetically, what do they bring? What can they bring to this
Well, I
league?
think they're trying for both, but yeah, no, definitely they see her and she's, she kind of has her hunched back up a
Yeah,
little bit.
that was just like she's very much like I think insecure about herself. So it's like her hat's really down low. She's even kind of looking directly at the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And like so he goes to leave because
Yeah.
he was like, I'll let you know or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of the girl stopped him and was like, why? Because she's the why aren't you recruiting her? She's great.
Yeah.
Like because she doesn't she's not pretty like us or whatever. And then even her dad comes over and is like, I know she's not, she doesn't look good. That's my fault.
Yeah.
But like don't let that don't let
Yep.
that
I thought that was such a touching fucking scene
yeah.
with the dad. I was like, oh my God. Like the dad's like, it's only been me and her. I raised her like a boy. I was an idiot. Don't,
Mhm.
don't hold her back because I
Yeah.
failed her in this way. And he was like, it was a very touching scene. I
Yeah,
thought
it
it
was
was
really,
great.
really sweet.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was also nice to see that it was just like it wasn't a story of. I mean, obviously you see that later about like it was several times where like women can't play or girls can't play baseball or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just nice to see. It was like there were also like fathers out there like just supporting their
Mhm.
daughters. It doesn't need to be on one end of the spectrum.
Yeah, for sure.
It was very much like different people felt different ways, and we'll see that a little bit later. And so like they're able to convince Ernie to invite Marla along,
Mm-hmm.
and like she's a little bit nervous because of the fact that clearly she's never left left home, and so fucking Ernie as they're at the train station. It's just like it's so crazy. It's only 10 minutes maybe of the film,
Yeah.
and that might be pushing it. But it was like some of the greatest
Yeah.
comedy of the film.
100%. Yeah, every scene he was in was great. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like as he's waiting for her to come on, and she's like once again she's never left home. Like Jesus Christ, give the girl a minute.
Yeah.
And he's like, you see the way it works is the train moves, the station doesn't. I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. Dude's an asshole.
And so, they're now they're heading to the three of them, the three recruits, and Ernie are heading to Chicago for the tryout. He gets them there, and then he just leaves. He's like, "This is my part of the job is done." He said,
Yeah.
"I'll go home, I'll have dinner, have a shower, have sex with my wife, and then I'll
I'm
back
back
on."
on the road scouting more people because that's
Yeah,
his. Yeah. God.
and
Everybody,
so
they're just like, "What? Wait, you're just leaving us?" And then he's like, "Don't get emotional." He's like, "Gosh, I hate when dames get emotional and attached or whatever." I'm like, "Jesus Christ, man! Come
well,
on,
like
mother."
I said, he's a guy. This is why this movie is. I think it sits in my heart too because of the fact that it was like at least from right now, three actors in Tom Hanks, what's her name, Doris, Rosie O'Donnell, and John Lovitz is like look those latter two was just like I haven't seen them in a while, and I realized how much like I loved some of their performances when I was a kid.
There's so many movies, especially for John Lovitz, that he was
Yeah,
just in. He was always like a small character part in so many movies and everything.
yeah.
If I remember correctly, yeah, and
Uh,
everything was great. Yeah,
but yeah, so they arrive at the tryout. We meet a few of the other girls. We meet May, played by Madonna, and her best friend Doris, played by Rosie O'Donnell. They're kind of like scouting, the new girls or whatever, and they
hmm
have a moment where like they fire the ball at what's her name, Dottie, and like
yeah,
she just catches it, with no problem.
without even a glove, like no
Yeah.
glove, bare hand catches the
Mm.
ball. Yeah,
And then so the tryout, begins or whatever, and then we get a message, another kind of news position, or maybe this was one on the radio, but it was like basically kind of like I was saying, it wasn't just they really showed the full spectrum of how people felt about this
sure.
league,
Yeah,
and like so you had a bunch of women basically saying like women playing baseball like it makes them will make women too masculine, and then it
hmm
was like it'll ruin the home because it was like they won't be there like to cook and clean for when their husbands return from the war. So like it gave you this other side of it where it was just
yeah,
like you have women even pushing back against women playing sports because of
hmm
this perception of what it is to be a woman in the 1940s.
yeah.
Um, And like I said, I thought that was really interesting to see. Um, and so we get after the tryouts, we there's 5 teams that possibly the girls can be on.
Yeah.
If you didn't make the team, obviously you're cut. And we get like they're as the different teams separate, and they're getting a debriefing from one of the coaches. One girl standing there, she's looking at the poster board, but like he assumes that she doesn't see her name, and he's just like, if you didn't make the cut, I'm sorry, but you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And another woman comes over, and you realize that the woman can't read. That's why she was, still standing there, because she needed help. And so I think she was Shirley. It was Shirley Baker. That's her name.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and so she tells the woman her name. She looks for it, and she's made the team as well. So like we get this touching moment. But you also just see like these women are coming from different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so they get a debriefing. We get introduced to Ira, I believe his name was. I guess he was like kind of the commissioner, or like maybe like the manager overall. And
I think so. Yeah, I
he
think
wasn't the big guy, but he was like one bigger, higher up.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was like the second in command. Like it was the one guy's idea who did the candy bars, and like he put Ira kind of in charge of running it.
Got it. Yeah. And so like he's introduces himself. He shows them their uniforms and like what they'll be doing, and they're like, it's basically like this more like a nurse's uniform and gave me like the 1920 like the 1940s like nurse's uniform.
So yeah, it's skirt. It's not very long. It's a pretty short skirt, especially for the time. Yeah.
And this is when you see even the women are saying like, oh, we can't sliding that, or like it's and I thought like I like that because it was like, once again, the way Ernie was making it seems like, yeah, he was recruiting talent, but he was also looking for a certain look.
Yeah.
So it made it seem like, oh, these women don't like, no, they don't know the game or something like that. But to hear them even like push back against the uniforms, made it showed me, it was like, oh, they know what the fuck they're doing. Like this isn't just the hobby to them on some bullshit. It was like, no, they know the game just as well as anybody else.
Yeah.
So we get a bit of pushback from the women about the uniforms, but then Ira, being an asshole, just goes, he was like, this is what you'll be wearing. If you don't want to wear it, you can go home. There's 38 other women that would gladly wear whatever I tell them. I was like, Jesus Christ, guys, relax.
Yeah, he's just no chill, man. No one's got any chill yet. All right, they all need to learn chill. Yeah.
But then he tells them basically, this is the uniform you'll be wearing. You need to go to a charm school. No drinking, no men. There's very strict rules. And like once again, you're more getting this idea that it is for publicity. Jesus Christ, sorry, and not because of the fact that they truly believe that these women can play. Yeah. Right? It is very much. It's all for sales. Obviously, we got the guy selling candy bars, and it's all for aesthetics and not a true belief that a woman can play, baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, we get another montage of them basically in charm school and etiquette school, learning how to sit, how to walk. This is a bit of the second funniest person to me was Marla, and like just her physical comedy, like without even trying. So like they're doing in etiquette class. They have these books on their head that need to keep it walk straight up. And we see, like we said, when Marla got introduced, it was like very slouched over, hunched over, like looking down at the ground. So her being forced to look up and hold the book, that was the funniest shit because she's just so uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And then like they're giving makeovers too. So like she's looking at the different girls or whatever, saying, "Oh, you're fine. You need a haircut. We need to get rid of your unibrow."
Yeah.
Or whatever. And they look at Marla and it was just like, "Oh, we should I don't think we can do anything with this."
Yeah, which we play a lot of night games. That was we got to play night games with her because otherwise, that's the only way.
Oh my god! But anyway, so like as the women are getting ready, before their first game, we get introduced to Jimmy, and he's like a former player that like he got he was an alcoholic, and then there was kind of issues with his knee. So like he was a great player, but like he hasn't played in like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, because it was he hasn't played. He did a bunch of home runs when he was good. Then he was an alcoholic, and then hurt his knee falling out of a hotel. But he did it because he was super drunk. Yeah, injury from that. Yeah,
and so they want him to basically coach one of the teams because his name still carries weight in baseball. So like to add some legitimacy to this women's league, they're gonna have him as like kind of the poster child. And so during their first game, their introduction to Jimmy, he walks in clearly a little bit drunk, even though he told the commissioner that he'd given up drinking.
Yeah.
He walks into the locker room, doesn't say anything to any of the women, just goes right to the toilet and starts peeing. And, to the point where May like grabs a watch to time it.
Yeah. We're all like, "Oh, we need to time it," because everyone knows if you pee for a long time, it means you have a big penis. That's
science.
that's science. Yeah, that's why.
But yeah, so right before Jimmy comes into the locker room, one of the women has like his rookie card or something like that she took from her husband because she wants to get it signed for him.
Yeah, who's in the war?
And Jimmy comes in, sees the card, and rips it up. Broke my heart.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, that dude's over there fighting Nazis, and this is what happens. Ugh.
And so this is where we get the first game or whatever. And then there's not too many people in the stands, but there is like a guy there like making fun of them, saying that women can't play as the women get introduced. And then their pitcher like just throws the ball at him to shut him up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have their first game, but like Jimmy doesn't do anything. He doesn't even like give them the lineup or whatever. He literally just like he comes out, he stands, he waves, he smiles at the crowd, and then he just sits and sleeps during the game. And so this is where we see Dottie kind of step up and take over as coach. And then they win the game, and then we see even the not the umpire, but the guy announcing the game giving credit to Jimmy, even though like you didn't see him do anything. It was clearly like Dottie and the women.
They're like, what a great strategy from great ball player James Dugan. Yeah, and like he's just asleep. Yeah.
And so I think the next game, like no, so they're driving or whatever.
Yeah, so then they start.
Sorry. So one of the women, Evelyn, has a son.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that like her husband doesn't want to take care of the son while like she's playing baseball, she asked if she can bring the son along.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, he's a really good kid, really good or whatever. So like the next scene we see, he's on the bus causing havoc.
Yeah.
And he runs up to the bus driver as he's driving, covers his eyes.
Yeah, the kid sucks. Yeah.
I saw that, and I'm literally in my apartment by myself, just shouting, "Beat your kids!" Like I had to dial it back. I apologize. You put everybody's life in jeopardy, and they make the bus driver to be the asshole in this scenario.
Yeah, like absolutely not. No.
Yeah, so like the bus driver pulls off to the side after the kid covers his eyes, and he's just like, "That's it, I'm done," and just starts walking away. And then, so some of the girls get off the bus. Like, no, sorry, who was Miss Cuthbert or something like that?
That was their female chaperone.
There we go. I wasn't sure if she was like manager. Like, I just couldn't tell. But yeah, so like the chaperone gets off the bus to like try to convince the driver to come back. And as she's gone, the girls mention that there's a bar they want to go to that night, but there's no like, and they say that they're going to poison the chaperone in order to sneak out.
Because May is like, well, I think it should be said, May's nickname is All the Way May. From this whole thing, because May's like, she's trying to get out and meet some guys on the town.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so that's the strategy. So like,
well, I can like Jimmy, like Miss Cuthbert wakes up Jimmy, and then makes out. Oh, sorry, yeah. So like this makes out. Then he's like, he's freaking out.
It's so funny, yeah, because she comes the chaperone comes back. She was like, the bus driver's not coming back, and so she goes to wake up Jimmy, and like she has to hover over him. So he wakes up from his drunken stupor and says, "Oh, good morning, baby," or like starts making out with her, and then like realizes who she is and starts screaming. And then he's like, now he has to drive the bus, and it was the funniest shit happened. He gets off the bus to call all the women that were standing outside, and he just starts rambling, and I don't even know what he said, but I assume most of it was get back on the bus, but he was like, yeah. And so he drives them, and then before he starts driving, he looks back to the chaperone and goes, "I loved you in The Wizard of Oz," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
And so next we see this woman who did nothing wrong to this girl. Is like writhing in pain
Yeah.
because of whatever
Maybe.
poison or whatever
Yeah.
that she did to her dinner. And so a few of the girls sneak out. They go to like I guess a bar or something like that to like dance and like meet some.
Yeah.
There's some soldiers there and some local guys, um, and all just having a good time. Then we see what's her name, Dottie get driven there by like some kid. He had to
Yeah.
be like 15 or some shit like that. And
And
then like he tries to like hit on her. He was like, "How about we jump in the back and you make a man out of me?" And she goes, "How about they punch you or something like
yeah,
that?"
I'm gonna beat the shit out of you,
Yeah.
motherfucker.
And he goes, "Can't we do both?" Like, Jesus Christ.
You know, like, he tried. All right, that was
This
Riz.
grew up really fast in the 40s, apparently.
That was Riz, man, and that's what they did.
All right, none of that. None of this. This is why TikTok is getting shut down. None
That boy wasn't an NPC. All right, no, he had Riz for days or whatever the fuck.
Um, but yeah, so basically, the girls have a good night out. They're dancing and stuff like that. And then Dottie's basically there to just get them back because somebody was coming to find them, or like and if they were found drinking or like sneaking out, then they would all get fired.
Yeah,
And so she's like, "Is this everyone?" And as they're walking out the back door or whatever, and then they say no, like Marla, and they point to Marla, and she's on stage singing her heart out
yeah.
in a beautiful dress, and she's singing to some guy Nelson,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that shit was so funny. So she finally gets her, them all home. The next game is pretty much the same, like where Dottie kind of leading the team, and like Jim just sleeping, and
Yeah,
then randomly he decides like Marla goes up to bat, and she's one of their best hitters. Marla goes up to bat, and we see Jim recognized. He was like, "Why would you have her do this or whatever, and
yeah.
why not this?"
Weird. So the
Uh,
signal was they wanted her to bunt the ball instead of hit the ball. He's like, "That's
yeah,
no. She's the best hitter. Hit it. Don't bunt it."
yeah.
That's something. Yeah, yeah.
And so like he gives her a signal, using like some signal, and that's what I love too. Is like Marlon knew exactly what he meant. Like these are like this isn't just once again going. I keep harping on it, but it was just like they know the game. Like these women know the fucking game. This isn't for
Absolutely.
play.
Yeah.
So he gives her a signal of her, and then like Dottie kind of like seconds it. He was like, no, do this, and they keep going back and forth battling. And once again, Marla was one of my favorite characters because she says, "I don't know what you want me to do." She just kept stepping on, off and on the plate.
Yeah.
And then finally, like Dottie's like, "Fine, if you're gonna coach, fucking coach." Like
Yeah.
So uh, Marlo follows Jim's command, and doesn't bunt it, but he basically knocks it out. And he was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, there we go." And it was like you kind of see Dottie respecting his coaching, right? Slowly, she's getting there.
Sure.
Um, and then there's like next we see just a scene of them all on the bus driving like to the next game. We see May teaching the woman who didn't know
Mhm.
how to read, and like,
Right.
so she's reading some book, and she just reads the word "white milky breast" or whatever. And one of the girls is just like, "What the fuck are you having her read?"
It's a spicy book a little bit.
Yeah, and then the girl like once she reads it, she was like, "Oh my god."
And then May's like, "Oh no, it gets better on the next page."
That was the funniest part. I mean, keep reading, bro. Like, you don't even know. And so yeah, so May's teaching the one girl how to read. We get, I believe it was Evelyn that was writing a song about what's happening with the women's league.
Mhm.
Um, and then uh, Doris is talking about like her boyfriend or whatever, and we see she was like, he's unemployed. He's all these different bad things, but it was just the fact
Yeah.
that like she's only with him because of the fact that all the other boys, like nobody looks at her
Yeah.
because like she's not your stereotypical. She's not thin. She's
Mhm.
not she's not like a certain. uh she doesn't look a certain way, so just like not a lot of guys look at her, so like she just takes what she can get basically. But
Yeah.
then she realizes that maybe that shouldn't be. She shouldn't just be settling for that. She should be settling for somebody like that truly loves her, likes her, treats her right. So she rips up his photo, throws it out.
Mhm.
And then the next game we get the iconic scene where like Evelyn messes up in the outfield or whatever, giving I think 2 runs to tie the
Mhm.
game, something like that. And Jim, now that he's
Yeah.
actually coaching, he goes over to her and says like, "You know what you did wrong," and he's just yelling at her and berating her, and she starts crying, and he goes, are you crying? Crying in baseball or whatever?"
There's no
And he's
crying in
going off.
baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just keeps going off, and the one of the umpires comes over and says like, "Man, how about you give her a break?" And even some of the other women are saying that too. And then he goes, as the guy walks away, he goes, "You look like a penis." And and what was funny was like, this is another like it was so funny. It was just like he said it. Jim says this to the umpire. The guy comes back and is like, "What did you say?" He was like, "No, no, no, no. What I said."
So you misheard me. I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah. And so like he basically gets kicked out of the game. It was just like it's such a funny thing.
And he doubles down. He's like, "What? Come on, people have told you this before. I'm not the first person to say it like a penis in a hat on."
That could not be the first time you've heard that, young man. Don't make this about me. But yeah, so he gets kicked out of the game. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, and then so at that same game, we also see Ira's there with I guess he meets with the head commissioner,
Mhm.
and he finds out that they're gonna shut down the league basically. Like they're not making a lot of money or
Yeah.
whatever. Like they're not getting people in the stands, and so he go like after the game he goes, or actually no, at some point in the game he goes to talk to Dottie because they want to do a piece on her or whatever, and then
Mhm.
he tells them basically that they're probably going to be shutting down the league because the owners aren't making money, and that's the
Yeah.
only reason they got into this. And so, obviously, the girls are upset because they don't want to go back to what they were doing. Like this job pays them well; they get to travel.
Mhm.
And so the next play, like it's like a foul ball or something like that. Um, and when Dottie goes to catch it, she does a little split. And
Yeah.
this is where we get a kind of a montage of them. There's more showmanship to the game or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, there's like a contest. It was like he brings out. It was like catch a fly ball and get a kiss by the pitcher. Because they're the pitcher for the Peaches, right? They're the
Yeah. The
Rockford
Rockford
Peaches.
Peaches. Mhm.
Yeah, the pitcher used to be like was a former like a beauty contest winner or whatever. So like we see a bunch of guys coming like trying to catch the foul ball to get a
Yeah,
kiss.
well, Kit's also the pitcher too. It's like Kit or Betty
Yeah,
Smith. Those are the two.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But like yeah, so basically there's just a bunch of different ways they're trying to they're
Increase.
being more, I guess more showy
Yeah.
now to kind of get people in seats. Um, sorry,
Mhm.
and then yeah, and then we also get a moment where like they're in one city, the ball goes off to the side or whatever, and there's a bunch of African American people like watching, but I guess I don't know if they were like watching the game or not allowed in the game or something like that.
Yeah.
But you see her, this black woman picks up the ball and Dottie, asks her for her to throw it to her, and like she overthrows it
Mhm.
to the pitcher, and even the pitcher like catches the ball, and she's like, "Whoa, that was pretty good." And
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was going to be a moment where like this woman joins the team, but then it was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's 1943, Mike, relax.
Yeah, exactly. Because it felt like that was about to happen, but yeah, no,
Mhm.
1940s
I
are
think
like
that was an interesting thing for them to put in there to not really answer on at all.
yeah, yeah, I think, I mean, really what it struck me as is they were like, hey, we're in the 90s. We're trying to be progressive in this movie, and
Mhm.
we can say, hey, black women can play baseball too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine that those.
Without having to actually say it, because it was like I said, it was just like the woman like didn't join the team, or like there wasn't like a. I assumed it was a thread that was going to be followed up on
Yeah,
sometime later.
100%. I thought it was too. Like I saw it like it literally in like a movie today. That would have been she caught the ball. Whoa, and then we would have seen that woman in a
Hmm.
uniform the next scene. That's where.
Especially because we see like after this scene that Marla gets married and kind of leaves the team for the year.
Yeah, yeah,
She
yep.
gets married to the guy that she was singing to in the bar,
He's married
Nelson.
to Nelson. Yeah.
Um, Sorry, one second. Okay, but yeah, it doesn't follow up because like you said, it was like I assume Marla leaves the team. Oh, there's an opening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, let's introduce this African American woman to the team, but it
Yeah,
didn't. It kind of fell through. Like it was there and it for a moment, and then like nothing else happened.
yeah.
but we do see like because of the showmanship and the different tactics, they're getting more and more fans.
Mhm.
Um, and then one night we do see like another bus ride because we also see Jimmy being more involved as a
Yeah.
coach. Um, and I agree with you. It was like we did see him like being more engaging with the team, but not necessarily. I didn't see how this switched his like developed into him not being an alcoholic anymore. Like
Yeah.
seeing this is not a spectacle, but like an actual sport.
Yeah. And like, and Dottie just handed him a Coca-Cola when he was about to drink one day, and then he was like, this is just as good. And then now he's magically not an
Mhm.
alcoholic anymore. I'm like, okay, cool, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, one night on the bus as they're driving, we find out more about Dottie's husband who was in the war or whatever. We find out that Jim was married twice or whatever, but but it didn't work out.
Hmm.
And then they mention about like she hasn't her husband's somewhere in Italy, I believe, and she hasn't heard from him. And Jim is trying to give her like reassurance. It was just like, well, he's over there, in active combat, so it's not like there's a mailbox around.
Hmm.
Um, and if like not hearing anything isn't that bad because if you did hear something, it would probably be from from the army itself, telling you that he had passed away. So like, don't worry, he's fine or whatever, kind of giving her that reassurance.
Yeah.
And then we get another meeting at another game with Ira and the commissioner basically saying like the league won't continue past into another season
Yeah.
because of the fact that the war is basically ending and the men will be back. And this is where we get kind of that like how women basically took over during World War II and like in like the factories and stuff like that. And like and Ira makes a push. And he was just like, so we told them that it was their duty while the men were fighting the war that they needed to get out of the kitchen and get into the factories, and now we're putting them back in the kitchen. It was
Yeah.
like that can't be right, you
Hmm.
know. And I loved it. Talk about character development. I
Yes.
did love that for Ira, right? Because he comes in very misogynistic and an asshole. This is all for spectacle. This is what you're going to wear. This is how you're going to act. And
Hmm.
then to see him continue to fight um, for not just the league to continue, but for these women to get the respect that they deserve for
Definitely.
for what they been able to accomplish. I really did love that for him.
Hmm.
Um,
100%. Yeah. So he's like, yeah, give me all this. I'll run this, and it'll work out.
mhm.
Yeah.
But then the commissioner just ultimately says it was like there's no room for women in this country.
Hmm.
Um, there's no room for girls in baseball in this country once the war is over. Like
Yeah.
that's the commissioner, kind of his word. And so next we see like there's a game like there's a fight between
Kit.
so what happens is in the next game Kit is pitching but she's pitching kind of bad,
Yeah.
and so Jim calls it basically a timeout. He calls over Dottie and he was like, what do you think we should do, like the kid hasn't been pitching well. And Dottie as a not as a sister but as a like as a player just
Yeah.
says we need to get her off. We need to get the other pitcher in here.
Yeah, because
And
it's the end of the game. This like it's the end of the game. Kit's clearly tired. Her arm's tired. There's probably like, I think
Mhm.
like an inning or two left. They said, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, yo, what do you want to do? And she's like, at first she's like, I mean, yeah, she could finish the game. Because Kit's like, yeah, let me finish the game. I've never not finished the game. And then Jimmy is like, no, 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 what should we do? And then once he says this, Daddy's like, no, get her out. She's throwing grapefruits. Get her out of here. She can't pitch anymore. We need
Mhm.
someone else to finish the game out. Yeah.
And so Kit storms off or whatever. Um, and then after the game, Kit's kind of sitting there talking to Dottie,
Hmm.
and Doris comes over and is just like basically kind of mocking her for not getting taken out of the game, and like
Oh, right. Yeah.
you get a fight between Doris and Kit, and it was so because Kit really gave me younger sibling, even though like I don't know how old she was supposed to be in this film.
Yeah.
It's just that's just not important. But like her whole performance definitely gave me kid sister
Hmm.
like the whole time. And so like because this fight was very indicative of that. It was just like she throws a glove at she throws a glove at Doris, and then like Doris like throws water on her, and it was just like don't you And then so like they start like fighting, rolling around. The other girls get kind of get involved, but like don't fight, but try to get them to stop. And then we just see Jim pick up Kit, carry her to the locker room, and like just throw her in the shower. And like she's like, you turn the shower on. And it's like you need to cool off.
Yeah, put it on cold. Yeah, it's just like, all right, cold water, go for it.
And so we jump back to whatever house the team is staying in, and May is about to head out to a date. And we see what's her name? Dottie. What happened?
Dottie and Kit get back into it, and they're fighting again about everything. And then Dottie's really upset, and she runs into Ira because Ira wants to, and she's like,
I was a little ahead of myself. So yeah, like after their fight, what's her name? Dottie's in a locker room, basically saying like she wants to go home. She doesn't be here anymore.
Oh,
and
right.
I was like, after having a conversation with the commissioner, he was like, no, we can't have that.
Yeah.
He was like, you can't go home, like because we're almost at the end of the season.
Mhm.
I can get you traded, and she's like, I don't care what you do, just decide by 8 p.m. tonight,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be here anymore. And that's when we jump to the house. They kind of, and we find out that Dottie wasn't traded, but Kit was.
Yeah.
To another team. And like this is where we get this fight. Like when we mentioned it before, it was like, but she finally, Kit finally admits it. She was just, I'm just tired of living in your shadow. Like it's been like my whole life where like people don't even see me because like why are you so perfect?
Yeah.
And so Kit leaves. She's traded or whatever. And then I think the next game we see that hold up, Benny. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so next game they're in the locker room and what's his name? Jimmy is talking to them and then in comes like a basically a telegram.
Mhm.
And it's some from the War Department or whatever. And so everybody knows that means. That means somebody's husband has died.
Yeah.
And obviously we they're all worried about that we don't know, and the guy this is an interesting way to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was trying to add comedy or tension, but it was just like very, very awkward.
I thought it was just trying to make it like be like this guy's an asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Like this
I
dude.
was considering as to why though. Like,
yeah, just as a way to like, I don't know, just show like the callousness of like guys in this situation. Like,
I guess what I'm saying is I couldn't tell if it was a movie choice or like it was accurate to that time.
fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell. But yeah, so he's just like he's clearly there to bring bad news, and it was like it's not his first time. So it was like it was interesting that was his how he decided to go about that.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. But yeah, so like he doesn't even have the name of the person, so he was like, but he was like, you've already brought bad news, so now you were like, these women are in suspense, like who's who's the one, and so like he wants to leave and come back, but he refuses to give the letter, and like Jimmy's like, just give me the letter because he sees the devastation on these women's faces, and so like he just snatches the letter from the guy and just kicks him out of the room. And then I feel like even Jimmy made it worse, where it's just like he reads the letter, sees who it is, and he just starts pacing towards the person.
Yeah.
And it was just like nobody knows who it is, but as he passes them, there's a bit of relief. And obviously, what's her name? Dottie is sitting in the back. So we had just had this conversation about her husband. So it was like, is it possibly him?
Yeah.
But he walked past her and he gives the letter to Betty because her husband is died. And so like he consoles her, the rest of the team does. And then we do see, like I said, Dottie was relieved that it wasn't her husband. Like, but later that night, we see her crying in her room because she's like she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And we do see but as she's like in her room crying, her husband does enter the room, and I think his leg was injured or something like that.
Yeah, I think he got shot in the leg or something.
Yeah. And so, like, she's relieved or whatever.
He states himself, Bill Pullman.
We'll go quietly into the night. But yeah, so there's relief there. Like they are able to reconcile, and she decides that she wants to. So like the next morning, once it was so, like I said, it's a joy to see a young, youthful, like funny, like a funny Tom Hanks, because like he's like waiting outside on the bus to go to the game, and he's like, "Why am I the only one on the bus?" He's just literally none of the women are like they none of them are like outside or like they're so that now they have to run out to put their bags on. And he's just like yelling at. um, and so he sees that as all the girls on the team are getting on the bus, Dottie isn't. And she's in a car with her. She's in a car and she's going to head home because she doesn't want to play anymore now that her husband's back. She wants to leave to start a family.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you said. It was like weird that she just kind of leaves.
Yeah, and like I get it. Like she was consistent the entire time with being like she didn't really care too much about playing baseball in the first place. She went there because her sister begged her to.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "No, I have my husband. I'm good. I want to do that." But like, yeah, you just kind of look at like the whole, and she was just frustrating all this. Like you're leaving when they're in the World Series now at this point in time. They're literally going to the World Series. And she's like, "Nope, I'm going to leave right now." Like, think about what you're doing to all the women you just played with an entire season. Like, what? I mean, I get it. Like, your husband's injured and just came back, but like, just stuff she was doing was just frustrating. I found,
yeah. And he also tells her that she's going to regret the decision.
Yes, yep, 100%.
And so, so she leaves. They play in the World Series. We just get them playing a few games, and now they're also playing against Kit.
Yeah,
who had been traded to I can't remember the
other team.
Sorry, the Racing Bells.
Something like that.
Yeah. And it goes to Game 7, and at Game 7, Dottie returns to play, and like her replacement, I think, was Alice, and it was just like, well, Dottie played catcher or whatever, so like, but. Her replacement wasn't great, but it was what they could get at the time.
Yeah.
And so she replaces Alice in Game 7. And then something happens where like she calls Jim a name or something like that. Like she just like calls him, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna win."
Oh yeah.
And then we get what's his name? Evelyn's son, Stillwell, something like that. He's just because he's still there, with his mom. And he goes, "We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose."
Yeah.
And so we get the Game 7. It's Kit and the Bells versus the Peaches versus her former team. And so and this is what I was saying. It was just like this is the last game, and it was the first time in a while like I'm watching a sports sports movie and really like engaged in this game. I don't like baseball like that. But it was like I was really engaged because it was like I think they set it up. The movie set it up perfectly. Where I mean, they always do. Where it's like the rivalry, but it was just like knowing the backstory between the sibling rivalry between Dottie and Kit really intensified it, and it made it really like meaningful. Now, sadly, I could see where this was going, but it was still good to see.
Yeah.
And so we see. What happens? Dottie comes up to bat in like the top of the 9th inning or something like that. So she's going up against her sister, and because of the fact like that is her sister, and she has such a vitriol towards her, and like wanting to prove herself. You can see it Dottie gets into Kit's head, and like Dottie's able to get like a base hit to like take the lead or whatever.
Yeah, they get 2 runs from her hit. Yeah, she had a great hit off her, get 2 runs. So now it's 2 because it was going to the top of the 9th. It was 0-1 Kit's team. Then Dottie gets the hit, which makes it 2-1.
Yeah.
Then we go to bottom of the 9th. Kit's now back up. Yeah.
And so now we get Kit's team is up to bat, and you see like her just breaking down in the dugout, where she's just like ran it. And what I loved was like she's crying or whatever. And even her teammate was like, not the no crying in baseball thing, but it was just like, get the fuck over it. We still got a game to play.
We got a game to play. Like, you're about to go to bat, like, come on now. Yeah.
And also, I think we see there's a moment where homegirl Evelyn messes up again or whatever.
Yeah.
But this time we see Jim, instead of like, because she assumes she's going to get yelled at. Yeah. And he's just like, maybe try hard. Like, through his teeth.
Next season to work on this. Right. And he's like shaking and like
but so so it's the bottom of the 9th. It's Kit's turn up to bat, And as the inning started, we see Dottie looking at her sister in the dugout, and like you could just see this like God, like you could see her feeling for her sister.
Yeah.
And so as Kit comes up to bat, Dottie goes over to the pitcher and she says, throw high balls
Mm-hmm.
because Kit can't hit those. So
Yeah.
we've seen her in the beginning of the movie. That was the same thing, like she couldn't hit.
Yep. Yeah.
And so the first two pitches, high balls, Kit can't get it.
Yep.
And then like that third one, she calms herself down, she focuses, she gets a hit. And it's not a home run or anything like that, but it was just like it's enough to get to one score. There was somebody on base, so they get one score. The game's tied, and like so, Kit makes it to third, but
Mm-hmm.
she's like ignoring the third base coach. She's just like, no, I'm going for the home run.
Yeah.
And so what's her name? Dottie gets the ball and
Mm-hmm.
like she goes to I guess stop Kit, but Kit like just plows right through her,
Mm-hmm.
drops the ball, and it is deemed safe.
Yeah.
And so like she wins the game, and we see her team like hoist her up or whatever. And it was like I said, I saw it coming just based on seeing how this rivalry was. But it still hit the same. Like it was a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Like finally, Kit is the one night because we see that in the beginning of the game when she missed the high ball. Sorry, in the beginning of the movie when she missed the high ball, it was Dottie was the one that had to save the team, got all the glory. And so at the end of the movie, we get this moment where Kit being the one to save the game and stuff like that. And so this is where we see the commissioner deciding. It was like, this is look at what we've done. Like he decides to continue the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the game, we find out that Dottie does, she's in a locker room by herself talking to May,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Oh, I'm not coming back next season, but I do love what we did here."
Yeah.
And then like she leaves the locker room and she goes to she sees Kit. She has a few young fans
Mm-hmm.
there wanting her autograph, and she's basically telling the little girls like. Definitely, like if you want to be a ball player, this is what I do. Like stay dirty and stuff like that. Like really motivating the next generation of young ball players. And then they have a sweet moment where she's just like, no matter what, I still love you. Like this is but she kind of like tries not even apologize. It was like that, but Dottie's like that's just the game. And I love that moment too because it was like initially I thought maybe it was gonna be one of those things where like Dottie did something to let Kit get the
like
the
she
win.
dropped the ball on purpose or
Yeah,
something.
but I love it. It was like a genuine. It was like no, because even when she goes over to tell the pitcher about like what kind of Kit's faults at that, it was like oh no, this is like if you're gonna win, you're gonna have to beat me, right? Type of thing.
For sure.
I've always loved that about like athletes. Like my mindset when I used to play basketball, it was like. You're not better than me until you beat me type of mindset. And it was like, even if you didn't beat me, I doubt it. Like, let's go again type of thing. It is. So I love that with that. It was just, they didn't hand Kit over the win. She still had, like, had to show how great how great of a player she was.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a sweet moment with the sisters. Like, Kit, I think she decides she wants to stay in whatever city that was to get jobs until the next season. So we do see like the sisters are going to, because, Dottie invited her to drive home back to Oregon with her and Bob, but she's like, "No, I want to stay." And we do see Kit kind of like going off on our own. And it was like, kind of, "I'll see you when I see you, but we'll always be sisters. We'll always have this bond."
Yeah.
And then we jump back to something sweet. I wrote it down. It was just like Dottie says, "Thank you for getting me into the league."
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry. Kit says, "Thank you for getting me into the league." And Dottie says, "You got yourself into the league. I just got you on the train."
Yeah.
And I love that moment because it was like, that was another thing too. It was just like Kit earlier saying it was like, the only reason I'm here is because you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that you kept hearing that throughout the movie. And I was like, I love that because she's right. It was like, you made the team.
Yeah.
Like,
she tried out. She did everything. Yeah.
All I did was like, I got you that ticket on the train. Like, but you did it yourself. And I love that. I love that, that moment between them. And then it jumps back to the present day, and we meet the older versions of all the women. And like we said before, it was like the casting on this was amazing. Like even like you can you can just tell who was who without having
Yeah,
to guess. Like it was,
100%. You're like, yep, I know every single one of these
mhm.
characters because we watched this
And
whole
then
movie.
like so yeah, that like I said, this was an exhibition game, but it was like a exhibition game for the opening of an exhibit for the All American. God damn it, it's here. The All American Girls Professional Baseball League at the Baseball Hall of Fame.
The AAGBPL.
Yes.
Like that's not a mouthful at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very easy.
But yeah, so like that's why they're there.
Yeah.
We see that certain some players aren't there. Like some obviously they're all it's 40 years later.
Mhm.
Um, and so like some of the some of the players have passed away, some of their husbands have passed away and things like that. But we do see that as they're about to cut the ribbon to the exhibit, they asked Ira
Mhm.
to cut the ribbon just because of the fact that he was the one that kept the league going, that was kind of pushing for them to continue the league. So we see that Stillwell is there, the little boy or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, he's
Um,
grown up.
yeah, and then we also see Kit and her family
Yeah.
arriving, and then there's a sweet moment where like her grandkids, like there's a exhibit for just her or whatever, and her grandkids is like, "Grandma, is that you?" And then like we get a sweet moment between the sisters seeing one another. I don't know. Obviously, we don't know how long it's been since they've seen each other, but
Yeah.
there's a sweet moment between them. Sorry, go on.
Well, I was gonna say so. Like this for me is probably I was just like, why didn't Dottie's family come? Like they just let this.
Yeah,
I like literally for me, like and this is because now we're at this point when I was talking about being frustrated with kind of Dottie's character in the movie. It just to me now, it just kind of seems like Dottie's kind of a sad older woman. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
from like the beginning with her not wanting to go, from how she has been with everyone, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's her, that's her." And then it just strikes me so much of like for me, and like I might be like projecting a bit of like being like you're going to regret this. I'm just like she just feels to me like a woman who regrets all of her decisions, with like
Mhm.
into this way. And like I'm sure she had a loving time with her husband and like she has the daughter and the two grandkids. But like we see Kit and all of her family in the exhibit and they're all like smiling and happy and jubilant. And we just get Dottie all by herself looking kind of sad in my opinion. You know what I
So
mean?
you know what I think it is? It's because of the fact that she only played that one season.
For sure. Yeah.
So it is. I think it is one of those things like it, like Tom Hanks. Sorry, Jim said, but it was like you're going to regret this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why she keeps downplaying it because of the
Yeah.
fact that yeah, she was in the inaugural season,
Yeah.
but there could have been some like I think it is that regret, and that's
Yeah.
why like she was like reluctant to go back because
Yeah.
of the because of the fact that like obviously those women went out to play X amount of seasons and like
Yeah.
grow together and like
Yeah, I think the league was like 11 years, lasted for 11
yeah.
years.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like they, Kit probably played for at least I'm going to say 5 seasons, bare minimum. You know, what I
Mhm.
mean, just kind of pulling it from
And I
this.
think that's what it is. You see her living with her choice,
Yeah,
right?
and I'm just like the whole time while she's living with her choice, I'm still like, you just seem so sad and full of regret
Mhm.
based on your choice, and it's making me not like part of this as much. But yeah.
You tell that lady to cheer up.
I'm just, it's just like it just makes I don't like it. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so the final scene is like they're the remaining living members of the team of the first team of the Peaches take a picture.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the end of the movie. And it was I also enjoyed the credits. It was cool how they did the credits. It was just like they're showing the player's position and then the
Oh
actor's
yeah,
name. I thought that was like really cool because there's
yeah,
somebody that doesn't know baseball like that. That was an interesting, innovative way to do the cast,
for
um,
sure.
the final credits. But yeah, that's the end of the movie.
And that's the end. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. We are the Meddling Kids. We always like to review our original rankings, our ratings at the end. So Mike, you gave this a 4.5 out of 5. Are you sticking with it?
Yes.
All right, love it.
I agree with your kind of some of your gripes, but it was just like I said, I think I just really like
Sure.
this movie.
Yeah.
It was some of the scenes did linger on
Hmm.
like, and there was a bunch of them that did linger and then kind of went on too long.
Yeah.
Um, but I really like this movie. I did
Cool.
so
Hell
4.5
yeah.
from it.
all for it. I'm also going to stick with my 3.5. I think it's a very good movie. I just think at times it felt a little too long. Some of the character development I think could have used more fleshing out or like a better way. And
Mm-hmm.
the end of it just kind of feeling like here's kind of a sad older woman. I was just like, I don't like that as much, just from like a movie perspective. I'm like, I don't like it. So yeah. But again, thank you so much for listening, everyone. We are the Two Meddling Kids. You can find us at Two Meddling Kids on Instagram and Twitter, or you can email us at twomeddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they reach out to you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Love it. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and Hunt.comics on Instagram and TikTok for all my comic stuff. We'll see you next week with a brand new movie.
Bye. Look at me going back to back without glitching out.